Sometimes life moves so fast that we don't even notice how tightly we're holding on. Our shoulders tense, our jaw locks, our thoughts race ahead of our breath, 1,000 places, 1,000 worries, all at once. In Buddhism, this is called monkey mind, a restless, unsettled mind that swings from thought to thought without landing anywhere. The antidote isn't fighting the mind, it's pausing. Not forcing silence, but allowing stillness to find you, even for just 5 minutes. In a busy world, 5 minutes of mindfulness can feel like stepping out of a storm into a quiet, hidden room inside yourself. It doesn't require perfection. It only requires presence. Mindfulness doesn't mean emptying your mind. It means noticing, without judging, without pushing away. Notice the inhale, even if it's shallow. Notice the heartbeat, even if it's fast. Notice the mind wandering, even if it refuses to stay still. Buddhism teaches that awareness itself is enough. You don't need to force the mind into peace. You just need to notice when it drifts, and gently, without blame, bring it back. Back to the breath, back to the body, back to this moment. Imperfect, restless, and still yours to meet fully. Even a few breaths of real presence can shift your entire day. The mind will tell you that 5 minutes isn't enough. It will try to convince you that real change requires more effort, more control, more time. But Buddhism teaches that transformation begins in the smallest spaces. One breath, one moment of full attention, one choice to return again and again. You don't need to fix your whole life right now. You just need to feel this breath, in this body, in this second. And if you find value in practicing this quiet strength, subscribe and tap the bell, so you'll always have reminders waiting for you, whenever the world feels too loud to face alone. 5 minutes of mindfulness is not about escaping life. It's about meeting life exactly where it is. No edits, no filters, no expectations. You notice the cluttered desk without rushing to clean it. You hear the hum of distant traffic without needing it to stop. You feel the ache in your chest without labeling it good or bad. Everything is allowed to exist, just as it is. And you are allowed to exist too, without fixing, performing, or perfecting. Buddhism teaches that true peace comes not from changing what you find, but from changing how you relate to it. 5 minutes is enough to breathe, enough to remember. You are not lost. You are simply learning to return. Most people think peace comes from changing everything outside of them. New schedules, new jobs, new relationships, new goals. But mindfulness reveals a deeper truth. Sometimes peace comes when you stop changing everything and start noticing what's already here. You notice the warmth of the sunlight on your skin, the sound of your own breath, steady, alive, the quiet beating of a heart that has carried you through every single moment so far. Buddhism teaches gratitude not as a moral duty, but as a doorway into presence. 5 minutes of noticing, 5 minutes of seeing clearly without rushing past, can be more powerful than 5 hours of chasing something new. You don't have to add more. You have to notice more. In a world that worships productivity, pausing for 5 minutes can feel like rebellion. You're told to move faster, to achieve more, to always be reaching for the next thing. But mindfulness invites you to slow down enough to actually feel your own life happening. Buddhism reminds us, this moment is the only real thing you ever truly have. The past is memory. The future is imagination. But this breath, this heartbeat, this presence, it's real. It's alive. It's enough. 5 minutes spent in full awareness can feed a tired soul more deeply than 5 hours spent lost in distraction. You don't need more time. You need more presence. Sometimes the busiest mind isn't filled with important thoughts, but with noise, random worries, unfinished conversations, loops of what if, and what now, and why me. Mindfulness doesn't force that noise to disappear. It teaches you to sit beside it without becoming it. Like watching leaves float down a river. You notice the thought, you name it, and you let it pass. Buddhism teaches, you are not your thoughts. You are the space through which thoughts move. Even in 5 minutes, you can practice being the river, not the leaves. You are the sky, not the storm. You are the silence between the noise. You are already more peaceful than you realize. When you sit in stillness, you may notice restlessness rising, an itch to move, an urge to check your phone, a sudden flood of all the things you should be doing. This is not failure. This is the mind detoxing from constant stimulation. Buddhism teaches, the first layer of silence often feels like noise. You must sit through the urge to escape. You must breathe through the impulse to distract. Because just beyond that first wave of discomfort, there is a deeper quiet, one that doesn't demand anything from you, one that simply welcomes you home. 5 minutes can feel long at first, but stay, because every second you stay, you reclaim a part of yourself. You don't need a silent room. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to wait until the world calms down. Mindfulness happens wherever you are, on a crowded train, in a noisy cafe, even in the middle of a difficult conversation. Buddhism teaches, the real temple is not a building. It's the breath. It's the moment you remember yourself. 5 minutes of returning to your breath, even in chaos, is more powerful than waiting for the perfect moment that may never come. You are allowed to find peace in the middle of noise. You are allowed to be calm, even when everything around you is moving fast. Your breath is your anchor, always waiting, always ready. Part 10. Every breath is a door out of the rush, a door out of the endless thinking, a door back into presence. Buddhism doesn't ask you to force your way through that door. It simply asks you to notice it's open, always open. Right now, you can take one breath. Feel it travel in, feel it travel out. Notice that, for just a moment, you are not chasing anything. You are not fixing anything. You are simply here. 5 minutes spent noticing the door again and again can soften even the hardest day. The door is always closer than you think. It's as near as your next breath, and every time you walk through it, you reclaim yourself. It's easy to believe that mindfulness should feel magical. Instant relief, instant peace, instant stillness. But real mindfulness often feels ordinary, simple, quiet, unremarkable, until you realize how much power lives inside that simplicity. Buddhism teaches that awakening is rarely loud. It doesn't explode. It unfolds, breath by breath, moment by moment. 5 minutes of paying attention might not change your whole life in one day, but it changes this moment. And changing this moment changes everything that follows. Small shifts, small choices, small awakenings. This is how real transformation begins. Sometimes, 5 minutes is all you need to interrupt the storm. A moment to catch yourself spiraling. A moment to loosen the knot in your chest. A moment to remember that you are not your anxiety. Buddhism teaches that emotions are like weather. They come, they pass, they change. You don't control the storm, but you can control whether you stand in the middle of it or find shelter inside yourself. 5 minutes of mindful breathing doesn't erase your problems. It simply returns your power to face them. Because a calm mind doesn't guarantee a calm life, but it gives you a calm heart to meet whatever life brings. Some of the most powerful transformations happen quietly. There is no announcement, no fireworks, no obvious sign. Just a small shift, a slightly slower breath, a slightly softer jaw, a slightly lighter heart. Buddhism reminds us, You don't need to change everything to change everything. You just need to change how you meet the moment you're in. 5 minutes of mindfulness is not about creating a new life. It's about waking up to the life you already have. A life that has always been waiting for you, behind the rush, behind the noise, behind the endless becoming. Here, now, enough. You don't need to force peace. You need to make space for it. 5 minutes of mindfulness is not a performance. It's an invitation, a gentle opening, a quiet remembering. Buddhism teaches that peace arises naturally when resistance fades. You don't have to demand silence from your mind. You simply offer it a place to rest. And sometimes, even if the mind stays noisy, your heart softens anyway. You realize that peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the willingness to stay kind to yourself, even when the noise is there. 5 minutes of kindness toward your own messy, busy mind is 5 minutes of real freedom. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Some days, 5 minutes will feel like a gift. Other days, it will feel like a battle. You will sit, and the mind will race. You will breathe, and the worries will crowd in. You will try to be present, and distractions will pull at you from every direction. This is normal. This is human. Buddhism reminds us, practice is not about perfection. It's about returning. Returning to the breath, returning to the body, returning to the quiet place inside you that no noise can destroy. 5 minutes of trying, even imperfectly, is still 5 minutes of healing. Every time you return, you build a bridge back to yourself, and every bridge strengthens your peace. Mindfulness doesn't promise to erase your pain. It promises to change your relationship with it. When you sit for 5 minutes, you may still feel the ache, the sadness, the fear. But slowly, breath by breath, you stop fighting them. You let them exist without letting them define you. Buddhism teaches, pain is inevitable, but suffering is the story we tell about it. 5 minutes of mindful presence is 5 minutes where you stop adding new layers of suffering. You feel the pain. You breathe with it. You stay open. And in that openness, healing begins. Not because you forced it, but because you made space for it to happen naturally. Every time you sit for 5 minutes, you are making a promise to yourself. A promise to pause. A promise to listen. A promise to stop abandoning your own heart in the noise of the world. You won't always feel different after 5 minutes. But inside, something shifts. A seed is planted. A pattern is rewritten. Buddhism teaches, real change is often invisible at first, like roots growing deep before the tree appears. 5 minutes a day may not look impressive from the outside, but inside, you are building strength. Patience. 5 minutes of mindfulness is 5 minutes of reclaiming your true self from everything that tries to scatter you. 5 minutes of mindfulness is a quiet revolution, a decision to slow down in a world that worships speed, a decision to listen inwardly in a world that demands constant noise, a decision to come home to yourself again and again, without judgment, without force, without needing to be perfect. Buddhism reminds you, peace is not given. It is created, breath by breath, moment by moment. You don't need to wait for a better time. You don't need to wait for a better version of yourself. You can start now, with this breath, with this 5 minutes. And maybe that's how real change always begins. Small, unseen, but powerful beyond measure. Now tell me, what would change in your life if you gave yourself just 5 minutes of real presence every day? Write your answer in the comments. Your insight might inspire someone else to take their first mindful breath.